Hello everyone, welcome to the presentation. Today's topic is going to be about the support systems that are available to members of the LGBT plus community. And before we get too far into the video, I want to make sure that you know that anything that you post in the comments is public. So if you have general questions, we absolutely love getting those. Feel free to leave those. But if you have a specific question about an experience that you have had or that you think that someone else is experiencing, please call our confidential hotline. It's 309-837-5555, and that number is open 24 hours a day if you do not feel comfortable talking to a counselor right at this time. And all of our services are free and, as I mentioned, confidential. The other thing I want to mention is this presentation is being recorded, so if you can't stick around for the full broadcast, that's okay. Come back to our Facebook page. If you're watching this in the future, we'll be posting this also on YouTube, so you can come back there and watch the replay. But I think we're all ready to go ahead and start. That's all the housekeeping items I have. So first I want to say hello, my name is Jamie. My pronouns are she and hers. I am the Public Relations Manager for Victim Services, and this is my special guest. If you would introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Alissa. I am a sexual assault counselor here at WIRC Victim Services. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I see adults and children and also persons in custody that I provide counseling services for.
Okay. So let's go ahead and dive right into this topic. So what free, non-judgmental support services would be available to someone who's experienced sexual assault that happens to be a member of the LGBTQ plus community?
So I'm going to say the number one service is the WIRC Victim Services. We provide services to all genders, all races, all ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds. We are totally inclusive, and I myself personally have many clients who are within the LGBTQ community, and we just want people to know that we welcome everybody here at WIRC. And we do understand that there are special concerns. People worry about their confidentiality, or they worried about being outed, and those are definitely things that we do not do, and your confidentiality is maintained. We don't out anybody, and we let the clients, we do trauma-informed services, so we let the clients guide where they need to go, what conversations they want or need to have. And we let them also know what their options are. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know sometimes it can be a concern for members of this community that
Yes.
They are worried that we might try to sway them from not being their authentic selves, and that is absolutely not what we are about. So can you talk a little bit more about
we
that?
don't. You are who you are. You know your identity. You know your gender. You know your orientation. That is you. That is what makes you who you are. And we want to help. We want to affirm that for you and let you know we honor who you are and your beliefs and your systems. So,
Okay. So a very supportive, safe space is what inclusive space we're trying to make for all of you out there who may be considering counseling if you have unfortunately experienced sexual violence or domestic violence as well. Can you real quick talk about the counties that the sexual violence program covers?
So our sexual assault services cover, sorry, I'm going to use my fingers because I probably will leave them out, so I have to remember, McDonough, Warren, Fulton, Knox, Henderson, and Hancock counties are sexual assault services counties.
All right, and those, of course, are in Illinois, and the domestic violence program, for those who are interested, covers Hancock, Henderson, McDonough, and Warren counties in Illinois. So let's get a little bit dive a little deeper. I can't talk today. Dive a little deeper into this topic. Let's talk about transgender individuals. So it can be difficult for them to express their true selves in public, and they also have additional hurdles that they uncover. So what are some ways that victim services can help survivors that happen to be transgender?
So we have a wonderful new program here at WIRC that we've been doing for about 3 months now. We happen to have a clothing center here at WIRC, and one thing with that clothing center that we're now able to do is Victim Services has put a program in place where members of the transgender community, whether male to female, female to male, can schedule an appointment with one of the counselors, and we have a private place in the clothing center where that person can try on clothes that affirm their gender. And then they're also able to take an outfit home as well. But it is a safe space. It is a private space where you can be yourself and enjoy the moment of being who you truly are in a free environment. There's no judgment. There's no questions. It's just, this is who you are. And I have a client currently that is using that, and she has just opened up so much more, that she's been able to come to the closet, and has been able to take home some attire and some clothing. She's taken home sandals, purse, jewelry, just anything for her to affirm who she is and to help her know that she is special. She has dignity and she has worth, and she deserves it.
All right, that's fantastic.
She deserves it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program.
Yeah, that's great that you're seeing the effects of that already, just uplifting that person, helping them feel like their true selves. And of course, if you want to access that particular program, you do need to go through Victim Services first. Victim Services, their actual physical location is not made public. That's for everyone's safety and privacy. And they collaborate with other organizations, like our parent organization, WIRC Community Action Agency, has the clothing center that they collaborate with. So if you want to access that service, if you're a transgender survivor, call the hotline at 309-837-5555. Again, that number's open 24 hours a day. So I also want to talk about today's topic is so important. I mean, June is Pride Month, but unfortunately, so many members of this community are attacked or belittled or targeted simply because they exist, which is terrible. And it gets even worse when you consider the rates of sexual violence in the LGBTQ plus community. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The sexual assault, sexual violence for anyone is absolutely horrendous. But yes, unfortunately, in the LGBTQ plus community, it is even worse. Statistics right now, especially if someone is transgender, their sexual assault rates are as high as 61% of people who are transgender are sexually assaulted or sexually abused during their lifetime. It is absolutely horrendous. And of course, with intersectionality, meaning when you have several characteristics that bring you together. So say that you're a person of color, you're also transgender or bisexual, that increases those rates. And not to bore with everybody with stats, but I kind of want to share some of these statistics.
Yes, please
because they are horrendous. People of color, particularly women, although men are also sexually abused, but for these statistics, people of color who are within the community, women are 53% of them have been sexually abused in their lifetime. People of American Indian descent, 65% of American Indians who are bisexual, transgender, 65% of them will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. Multiracial is 59%, or people of Middle Eastern descent, 58%. And those statistics are absolutely horrendous. They are awful. Bisexual women is another one. Is 61% of bisexual women, regardless of race or identity, are sexually assaulted. And those statistics are something that we truly need to work on, because they are horrendous.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around just how big those numbers are. And I mean, we tend to say at Victim Services, just in a general sense, that chances are that you know someone who's been impacted by sexual violence, but whenever you focus in on that community specifically, it's definitely everyone knows somebody or multiple people who have unfortunately experienced that. And so that's one of the reasons why we're doing this webinar today, is because we want to speak out against these crimes that are being committed against these people, and we want this to be an inclusive, welcoming world. Unfortunately, it may take a while to get there, but we're hoping by speaking out about this and by being allies to the community, if you happen to not be part of it, that this is a way that you can help to combat stuff like this happening in the world. Let's talk about what are some additional challenges that LGBTQ plus individuals face after a sexual assault has taken place.
Right. The biggest thing is the systemic oppression in this country. It really prohibits people from getting the services they need, and also the fear that they're not going to get the services they need. As hard as it is for a woman, say me being a cisgender female, if I were to be sexually assaulted, I would report it. I would feel, as a cisgender woman, I would report it. Unfortunately, other identities don't have that option, or they don't know their options are there. The fear of not being believed, especially by law enforcement, that fear of not being believed, and not only by law enforcement, in our healthcare systems, which is a horrible thing to say, but it is true. In some of our healthcare systems, and not all of them, there are still places where someone in the LGBTQ community is treated like a second-class citizen, or they may not be as believed as much. And so these survivors feel as if they have no place to go, because they feel as if there's nobody that they can talk to. So when we've talked in the past about the typical genders, the typical reasons people have difficulty reporting are just magnified. If you don't trust the police, you don't trust the judicial system, you don't trust the healthcare system, where do you go? And that makes it so very hard for people to report.
Yeah, and so that's why we're hoping, if you could, everyone watching, even if you haven't been impacted by sexual violence, to keep our hotline in mind. And I'll mention that again towards the end of the video. I know I've said it several times, but we just want to make sure that everyone who's tuning in is aware that that hotline exists and that we exist to provide free services.
And in order to get those services, you don't have to report. So that's important for people to know too. You don't have to report to the police. You don't have to have a medical forensic exam. Our services are here regardless, and you don't have to go through those avenues if you're not comfortable with those avenues. If you choose, if there's a survivor out there or someone who's been recently abused and is afraid of going to the hospital, reporting to the police, we also have legal and medical advocates. So we have staff members. If you decide that you want to have a medical forensic exam, we will go with you. We will be at the hospital with you. We will advocate for your rights and to make sure that all of your rights are being met, all your questions are being answered. So that's important to know too, that we will not leave your side in those cases.
Yeah, I think that hopefully that's very reassuring for a lot of people out there. And just to add to that too, that all of the people, all the advocates and counselors go through a rigorous training process and sign confidentiality agreements that are legally binding.
Yes.
So want to assure you that your confidence will be kept. And if we want to make sure that you feel comfortable and that you feel empowered whenever you seek our services, know that you are in control of your own mental health and healing journey. So unfortunately now I'm going to go into an even more unpleasant part of this, but I feel like it's necessary to talk about. Do LGBTQ plus children face even greater hurdles than what you've already mentioned? Because we've been talking more in an adult sense, a general sense. So let's talk about that.
Unfortunately, yes. Children who identify to the LGBTQ plus community have a much higher incidence and a risk of being sexually abused prior to their 18th birthday. I do not have the exact number, but it is a much higher rate. And unfortunately, sometimes that comes from family. Sometimes that comes from ethnicities. There's also a lot of hate involved in that. If you do this, then, we hear the statements, I can turn you. Well, there is no turning. This is who we are. And so for those reasons, yes, the rates of children being sexually abused are higher prior to their 18th birthday if they are fit within the community. Yes.
Yeah, and the numbers you had mentioned earlier, the statistics already alarmingly high, and then you think about children being pulled into that, and it's hard to think about. But
very hard to think about.
But necessary to talk about, unfortunately. And so we are filming this in June of 2022, and at this time, gas prices are a concern. And so I thought this would be a good moment to talk about the options that are available to someone if they do want to do counseling. What options are available if they're on a very tight budget or they feel uncomfortable even coming to meet with a counselor face to face?
So we have some options there. So I live about an hour away. So yes, gas prices for me, they're a significant struggle. We do have 3 offices. Now that does not mean you have to go to an office, but we do have 3 offices. We have our main office here in Macomb. I work out of a satellite office in Fulton County in Cuba, Illinois. And then we have another satellite office in Galesburg. Those, however, are not our only options. We are available for telephone counseling. We are also available for virtually counseling as well. So people who really are, fearful of leaving their homes, financial distress, whatever it is, we do have those options. We also have the options if, you want to get out, but maybe you don't have transportation. We can also meet clients in other locations. So we have arrangements in our communities of places where we can meet clients still in a confidential manner, still in a private, safe space. So we have places in Monmouth, we have places in Galesburg, places in Canton, a place in Bushnell that I even see clients. So there are lots of options if there are transportation difficulties, health concerns. Unfortunately, COVID is still out there, and we do understand, and it is a very real thing. So we have several options for victims depending on what they're comfortable with and what their needs are.
All right, great. And so everyone's healing journey is different, and counseling may not be for everyone. Are there possible alternatives that are available through Victim Services to people that may not be ready for counseling but kind of want to, we dip their toe in the water for the services we might have?
Yeah, I'm chuckling because I'm actually very excited about this option. I'm very excited about this option, so forgive me if I get a little bit giddy. We have created, and this weekend will be our first time on Saturday, June 11th, we are doing our first ever sexual assault survivor retreat. It will be in Macomb, and once again, if people register for the retreat, we will disclose the location at that time. So we are starting a self-care and self-compassion retreat currently for adult survivors of sexual violence. We're going to be doing trauma-informed yoga, healing circles, mindfulness activities, some art techniques to help people with mindfulness and calming and grounding events. So this will be our first one, and we're definitely hoping to do it more often in the future. And then we also have our hotline that Jamie's mentioned several times. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Say, you may not be a client of ours, but it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're having a panic attack. And you call that number and we can help you through that. So,
okay.
But
yeah, and absolutely whenever they call the hotline, there's no obligation again to identify themselves fully. They can just say, I'm freaking out right now, can you help me? And the trained counselor will help you in that situation if you call. And if you're interested in the self-care retreat day, it's from 10 to 3.
10 to 3.
Okay. At an undisclosed location in Macomb. Again, you have to call to register to find out exactly where that's at. That's for safety and privacy reasons. So call the hotline, 309-837-5555 if you're interested in that. If you're seeing this after the event has taken place, you can still call that hotline and let us know that that's something you'd like to do. Because like Alissa mentioned, we're hoping we can do more of these in the future.
Yes.
So don't let that discourage you if you miss this first one.
Right. And it is free. So the retreat is completely free. People can come and go as they need to. So,
yeah, if you don't want to participate in all the activities, you don't have to. We want, if you want to step aside, if you need to go outside and get some fresh air, you can do that too. Yes. We want you to feel safe. And feel welcome at this event, so it can be a positive experience.
Yes.
Yep. So let's talk about how can our viewers be supportive of members of the LGBTQ plus community?
The first place with that is to start with what goes for all victims and survivors of sexual assault. Is the first thing you can do to be the most supportive is to listen and to tell them, I believe you. And I know in the past sessions I've said the same thing, but that is true. That is the number one most important thing that you can do is say, I believe you. No judgment, no blame, nothing, just I believe you is the number one thing you can do.
Yes, because we actually, Alissa and I recorded a video, several videos. Actually, you can go back, if you're watching on Facebook, click on the videos tab. If you're on our YouTube page, you can scroll through there and you can search for some of the previous webinars we did. We talked a lot about victim blaming and the harm that can cause, both mentally and physically, even to survivors of sexual assault. It's really we cannot stress enough what Alissa said. Start by believing survivors. There's no, well, what were you wearing? What were you doing out at night? Well, you must have caused this in some way. That is the worst thing in the world that you can do. Best thing, just believe that person, and then you can refer them to a crisis hotline like ours at Victim Services, and we can give them, put them in contact with a trained professional who would be able to help them through their specific situation when they are ready. You don't want to force that hotline on them. That's just an option you can give to them. So we have covered a lot of material in this webinar. I think, unfortunately, it's a lot of horrific statistics, but I feel like it's important to talk about. And I have a feeling it's going to be the thing you just mentioned, but what's the one thing from this presentation that you want people to take away from this? Believe.
And actually, another important one is, if you are a victim or a survivor and you are watching this, please know that you are not alone. We are here for you. You do not have to suffer in silence. And it really is talking about it, being able to experience your feelings and to process those. Just like I said, please know you are not alone. We are here for you. If you're a family, a friend, a significant other, then yes, believe. But we are here for you. There is help out there for you.
Right. And Victim Services provides counseling, medical advocacy, legal advocacy to children and adults.
Yes.
So the whole range. It doesn't matter how long ago the abuse happened or how old you are, you can contact us. 309-837-5555. And in certain situations, friends and family members, significant others can also receive counseling.
Yes, we also do significant other counseling. You know, we always think about the immediate victim or that survivor. We don't think that, we forget that their significant others are also experiencing trauma as well. Their trauma is more of an emotional, mental trauma, but it's still trauma nonetheless. So yes, we are here for significant others as well.
Right. So we've come close to the end of this video. I just want to wrap up. If you like this presentation, please like the video. Please consider liking it, leaving a comment that tells the places we're posting it on that you enjoyed this content, and it might help it be shown to some other people. We're posting stuff all the time on our social media pages, so consider liking our pages if you like this content and want to learn how to be an ally to survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence. If you just want more information about our services, we're posting stuff all the time. And if you're watching on YouTube in the future, consider subscribing, because again, we're posting webinars like this that we've streamed on our social media pages up there all the time. We want to be a source of information for the public on how to be supportive of survivors and just to spread awareness about our free and confidential services. Feel free, again, to leave questions in the general comments afterwards. We can always come back to those and we can answer those. If you have a specific question, call our hotline. And of course, if you're in immediate danger after like an assault has taken place, contact the local authorities first, and then you're welcome to contact us, of course, afterwards to consider your counseling options, medical advocacy options if that's in your situation, or legal advocacy options. So is there anything else you can think of we should add?
I think we got quite a bit covered. A lot of heavy information today. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of heavy information. So we want to thank you all if you're sticking with us to this point. We really appreciate you. You are amazing. You are amazing and beautiful just as you are. And we hope that we'll see you again on the next video. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.